You know, next we'll know soon who's the next president of the United States by voting. You can have elections in the church, but you can't have voting on whether contraception is to be practiced or not, or whether or not you have to believe in the resurrection to be baptized. You know, so you can't. America is a liberated, so-called democratic country. It's not too democratic anymore, but we don't. We love the idea of freedom and total equality, of course, which we don't have a touch of in this country. But the church can bring about total equality. You put that into practice together with the distribution and redistribution of wealth, uh, and you do it by the people in the church giving money and their time and energy to whatever are the needs of the day. We would, as I said before, we would have never had socialism, which is enforced state type of communism, or never the silly atheistic communism of Russia, depending upon Marx and Engels, Charles Dickens novels in England from the slums, and Hegelian philosophical and Feuerbach philosophical ideas about how to put it together. And of course, it only survived 72 years, as I said, and it never would have survived for a moment without a mammoth, ruthless army behind it. In 1941, the Pope wrote an encyclical letter. I don't know if it was 41, but that same Pope, Pius XI, wrote a letter about Divini Redemptoris. They always use the Latin titles because it's got to be translated into 128 languages now. And in that, he rants and raves. It's against atheistic communism. So all the epistle about is, this part is true. He rants and raves against atheism enforced upon Protestant and Catholic populations, even of dear Russia, with its Orthodox Church, founded about the year 1000, the 11th or 12th century. They broke off from the Greeks and all that, but they had the same idea, and they had the same faith as we have, same liturgy, same sacraments, same everything, except they didn't want the tyranny of Rome. They were 900 years ahead of themselves. So we see that it's possible. I implemented this, and then I was able to implement a Holy Family in Virginia Beach. So now they've taken away and they've gone back to a parish council because of the pastor, which, again, the lay people not having a deep sense of their identity, even though it's a middle-class parish filled with doctors, lawyers, ambassadors, high military gifted people. They got intimidated by the pastor, and now they're back to parish council, which means they advise the pastor, which is a waste of time. I had a concrete example. I wanted to pay off the debt, and we did pay it off almost in 3 years. But we had no parking lot lights. If you can imagine, a white suburban parish, they didn't have parking lot lights, and we needed them badly. But I wanted to wait and pay the debt and then get the lights. But a lady in the parish, she was smart. She went to all the elders and said, no, we need the lights now, especially for older people on Saturday night masses. Let's all get together and tell TQ, and they got a consensus of every one of the 54 elders against me, which was Catholic action at its best. And they loved me and all that, but they thought they had the better view. And I was tempted to push them forward to be a real group of elders of the church, which is the model in the Bible. I was going to say, I overrule you. So they have the experience of going to the Board of Review in Richmond, and getting their opinion back by an independent group, and zonking me the second time. I didn't give in to that temptation, and I said, you win, I lose, and let's have fun. And it was wonderful. It was a good experience, although I was heavily tempted to get them to go to Richmond to get a view of church. Now, of course, this was only allowed ad experimentum, as an experiment, this elders instead of parish council stuff, by Bishop Sullivan, who let me do it for 3 years, and then he forgot about it, and I didn't, and it went on and on and on, and I was able to implement it in Holy Family. But now, of course, it's all gone backward, and it's none of my business anymore. So, covenants were made up by elders of the church with a class equal to the pastor, who has equal power with him, and power is part of church life, the most important part, as the sex abuse case showed, and how badly the bishops reacted, and they didn't know what to do, and then they messed it all up. So, anyway, that's the authority in the church has got to change. Not because I want it to change, and not because the world is more democratic, which I wonder if it really is. And our own American democracy better watch out, or it might fall apart 500 years ahead of the Roman Empire. But it's because it's the biblical model. And anybody that reads the Acts of the Apostles and follows the way Jesus deals with all kinds of people knows that. And hopefully it'll be implemented. Okay, I'm going to go on another subject now.
Okay.
So, you have to shut me up when you're ready. As I always say, one of the reasons I became a priest without having, as young people, I had no sense of what it implied. But I came from a big family, and we had serving, loving parents, and I guess I get my model from them. If you're going to be real, you're going to have a meaningful life. And they were all heavy, and we must get educated. You know, we were blue-collar people, and loads of kids quit high school or went to trade schools, and my father said, no, you're not going to do that. Anyway, and of course, I found out years later what exceptional parents I had. But you have to live a long time to appreciate that. I mean, I had so many brides and grooms when you do the marriage and pre-marriage investigation. I couldn't believe how many people had such lousy parents, and a small minority, but a vocal minority, how many people hated their own parents. That was a learning process for me. So like anybody who wants to be a doctor or a nurse or a Baptist missionary or wants to go to the Peace Corps, most people really, when they start out in their professions, they do want to serve other people. So that was ingrained into me. And the local parish I happened to be in was very good in tough times. I came at the end of the Depression, and the priest would hand out money and buy shoes and do stuff secretly to all kinds of people in the parish. So I had a good model there. The people in the neighboring French and Polish parishes didn't have that model. So, I finally was ordained, I wanted to serve others. And one intuition I always had was, I smelled, I intuited that when you're a Catholic priest in America, at least, I can't speak for the rest of the world, you were able to deal, part of it was clerical power, I'm ashamed to say today, putting on the Roman collar and saying prayers at the dedication of a war machine, or installing a judge, or blessing a new cargo ship in Newport News. Or, you're called up, I'm going to bless a field for soccer girls next week. But anyway, part of it's clerical, but part of it is the people's need to have their actions or their play or whatever blessed.